Coming up on Catholic in America.
A relationship with God is truly that, a personal relationship. It grows over time just like a relationship with anyone else.
Wherever you're at, you can always get better, and through God and through prayer you will.
One of the greatest things that I love about being Catholic is just the connectedness of the community.
This is the fullness of the gift that God wishes us to know and to experience.
I would like other people to receive that same joy and freedom.
You know, when you love people, you want the very best for them.
We are invited to join Christ on his journey. Our journey of faith is with him.
Hi, I'm Father Tony.
I'm Father Patrick Gallagher.
Father David Shoemaker.
Father Dennis Berry.
And you're watching Catholic in America.
Hello and welcome to Catholic in America. I'm Teresa Prejean, and today we're with some of our Catholic students to discuss how they view the world around them and how they balance their faith and life. We have with us on our panel Allison Blanchette.
Hi, Teresa.
Trevor Miller.
It's great to be here.
And Christopher Durham.
Thank you.
So Allison, you have worked with teens for a long time. What would you say are some of the challenges and pressures that teens today are feeling?
Teresa, I've worked with students in the Catholic Church for over 10 years now, and one of the biggest changes I've seen in the last several years is how instant our culture has become. We've gone from having to wait maybe a few hours for an answer, and teens today can pull out their phones and Google anything in seconds. When it comes to a relationship with God and our Catholic faith, it takes more than a few seconds to develop and work on and grow in. And so as a youth minister and as a church, I think we have to walk with students along this path and help them understand that while our faith isn't instant, it's worth the struggle.
Trevor, what about you? What are some of the pressures and challenges that you and your peers experience?
Well, I'd say they can vary widely, but I'd say they can come down to even subtle differences, like making the sign of the cross. For example, myself, I make the sign of the cross when I see emergency vehicles like a fire truck or an ambulance. And so when you're standing in a crowd of people who aren't Catholic, and it becomes weird to stand out in a crowd, even if it's something as simple as making the sign of the cross.
Christopher.
I think the question isn't even necessarily Christian or Catholic. Just as people, if you have a stance that is outside the social norm or outside of what the group of people think, the mass of people, then you're almost like ostracized. It's not a persecution. I don't want to impose that, but it's almost like you're a different like breed of people. It's something you're different, and it's very clear that you are.
Okay. Yeah. Have you ever had any experience, Christopher, where your faith was attacked in the classroom or challenged or questioned? Have you?
I've had teachers and students alike question me out of like genuine curiosity. Back in the 10th grade, in my sophomore year, my freshman geometry teacher, one time she was Methodist, and she asked me, she's like, why do you guys celebrate the Eucharist? Why do you guys worship Mary? That was one of the big questions. It's these kind of questions, but I've never had it maliciously. It's all genuine curiosity from people.
Okay. Trevor, what about you? Have you had any experiences like that?
I've had a little bit more malicious attacks. People have come up to me and just said that they don't like Catholics, and I asked them, I'm like, well, why? I want to help them understand, want to help them figure out that there's no reason to not like Catholics, and that's what you run into a lot in high school. People are repeating what their parents might have said when they were angry, things they don't really understand. So a lot of times, whether it's a malicious attack or out of just curiosity, usually it ends in a fairly fruitful conversation.
Allison, does this resonate at all with what you've heard in youth ministry over the years from the teens that you've worked with?
Definitely. We hear a lot of times that students, and especially in the Deep South, where most people do have some sort of faith background, and yet they're not familiar with what the Catholic Church teaches. And so students just encounter a lot of misconceptions. You know what they say, most people don't hate the church, they just hate what they think the church is. And so helping students be able to answer questions with charity and patience is such an important part of what we do with youth ministry.
Before youth group, I only really went to Mass on Sundays, and that was about it for me, like being involved in my faith, and I wasn't really too into it. I knew that God loved me, but it wasn't like a personal thing for me. When I first started coming to Life Teen, I noticed that like the adults and teenagers, they really wanted to like share a part of their faith. They were really like authentic and vulnerable with what they were saying. The thing that I like the most about youth group is that we have small groups. So we'll break off from like the larger group and then go into smaller groups. And usually like 9 times out of 10, there's like another teenager who's going through something that's similar to you. There's like a new thing that we learn every week, and I like how that I can apply that to my life. Youth group has really helped me to be more excited about my faith, and helps me live out my faith more intentionally. And now I know that like God's with me and He loves me.
If you have any questions about Catholic youth ministry or would like to join a youth group in your area, call our Welcome Center at 1-800-258-JESUS. Thanks for watching, and God bless.
Christopher, what are some ways that you have been tempted to either abandon your faith, maybe during your high school years, or at least neglect it in some ways?
The freedom to sin, right, is something really attractive, right? If sinning was an ugly thing, right? If drugs, if sex, if cheating, right? If all this was ugly and wasn't attractive, we wouldn't sin. And so just the underlying like static temptation of what about the fun? You know, what could I be, what am I missing from, and I know that's a terrible argument, you know, what am I missing? Because you're obviously not missing something, but it's that like calling of sin, that desirability that kind of attracts us to it. And it hurts us in the end, and we know that, but it's so attractive, and that's where the temptation comes from for me.
Sure. Yep. I think a lot of people could relate with that. Trevor, would you add anything to that, or what's been your experience?
We have an enemy who never eats, who never sleeps, and has been doing this a very long time. And so sin can look very attractive, like a shiny red apple, or anything that other people have and you don't. Whether it's good or bad, that lust, that desire to covet what other people have, gets really strong when you're just curious, and hard not to let curiosity kill the cat.
Right, right. So when you are tempted, or when you're speaking with a friend who is drawn to those things that we know, those behaviors that we know are sinful and do ultimately or eventually bring damage, how do you overcome that?
I think that it's important to realize that while it's attractive, it's also very painful. And I think that's something that really resonates with me over and over again. And in terms of telling other people, I don't quite know yet. I'm still on my journey to trying to figure that out. But for myself, the sin that I've experienced and the sin that I've done and gone through and how to deal with the consequences of is it hurts physically, emotionally, like it's genuine pain. And so I can remind myself that as attractive as that sin is, that I keep falling into or whatever, in the end, it's just going to take me away from like my ultimate goal, and it's just going to hurt me, and I don't want, you don't want that risk reward. It's not worth it.
Right, right. Trevor, how do you make a case for the moral life when the options are so appealing?
Well, I think once you get used to it, once you're in mine and Chris's place, I'm friends with a lot of people. I can make friends with almost anybody. That's one of the things I pride myself on. I'm friends with everybody from every crowd, right? And once you're where we are, it's not exactly easy, but it becomes more natural to kind of brush it off and be like, no, that's just not what I'm into. Mm-hmm. And really, that's all it takes. But the younger you are, the harder it is, because when you're just trying to fit in, that's all you want to do is fit in. So when somebody's like, hey man, come and hang out with us and we'll do some drugs and we'll skip class, that's you want to fit in. Mm-hmm. So it really takes a lot of willpower to come to the point where you say, why don't you come to church with me on Sunday and we'll just go ahead and go to math class, Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, if you can make that happen, if you can pull through with that, the reward can be much higher than the cost.
Right. Allison, how have you counseled or ministered to young people who have struggled with this sort of thing, with really, either abandoning their faith or doubting it or neglecting it?
Well, from the time of St. Peter, we've all struggled to follow Christ. And I always tell teenagers and young adults that think of the Catholic Church as the family dinner table. You're always welcome, and it's where you belong. I think everyone can relate to not always understanding the rules their parents give them and not always following the rules their parents give them perfectly. And yet, hopefully, everyone comes from an experience where they're still welcome at home. They're still welcome to join the family for dinner. And the Catholic Church is like that. There's going to be times where we struggle to understand what she teaches us and how to live it best. And yet we are always welcome, and that we should always be working out our questions and our doubts and our struggles within our family, within our community, and to look for the answers that the Church offers within her structure. And a lot of times it can be a struggle and it can't always be obvious, but with persistence, we'll find it.
Christopher, what would you say to your peers today about the role of faith in our lives?
Overall, just be strong and know that it will come with time, and it will come with your spiritual maturity. Just know that wherever you're at, you can always get better, and through God and through prayer, you will.
Trevor, what message would you give to people your age?
Well, I would say, a lot like Allison was talking about, we're so used to getting everything instant. Google something, ask a question, and boom, you have the answer. But a relationship with God is truly that, a personal relationship. It grows over time just like a relationship with anyone else. And so just when you're ready to give up, don't. Keep going. God's mercy is endless, and wherever you are, He can get you exactly where He wants you.
Allison, Trevor, Christopher, thank you for being on our show. And thank you for watching Catholic in America. If you have any questions about spirituality, the Catholic faith, or today's topic, please contact our call center at 1-800-258-JESUS. Thanks for watching, and God bless.